my boss toasted to our secret getaways, my husband dropped his drink. I got a promotion at work. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, at least one of them. But it has turned out to be my worst memory ever. They will haunt me for the rest of my life. We had an office party to celebrate, and my boss gave a speech. But at the end of his speech, he toasted to our secret getaways. Everybody else didn't understand it. No one thought of it as anything different. There was really no reason to suspect anything, not with the way he said it. But I understood it. I knew what he really meant by his words, and I smiled. It was meant to be a private joke between us. But my husband, he understood it too, and he just dropped his drink and turned to leave. I tried to stop him, but what happened next? Right in front of everyone, my colleagues, my boss and his wife, he exposed my affair. My name is Mira, and I'm 28 years old. I've been married to Peter, my husband, for almost 3 years now. In 3 months, we will be celebrating our 3rd year together. Sadly, comma. I don't think that's going to be possible, especially not after what I've done. We met back when I was still in college in my 2nd year. Peter had already been working by then. He insisted that I finish school before we got married. So we dated for 3 years before we eventually got married. Life with Peter was amazing. He was kind, calm, and nice to me. He didn't pressure me or anything. Even when I said that I didn't want us to have kids immediately, he was fine with it. I wanted to build my career first before I started building a family. I've always been someone who liked to have a stable and high-paying job, and it was one thing that implicated me. After pursuing and using every connection I had, I finally got my dream job. At the company I've always wanted to walk in. This was only a year after getting married to Peter. I was so happy. I thought I was finally going to live the life I wanted. At first, I worked really hard. I wanted to prove myself. Because the field was dominated by men, so I was dedicated to proving myself, but my work was clearly not enough. Most people in the office disapproved of me. They thought I didn't deserve my position, so I had many people against me. I started working closely with my boss, Ryan, after 6 months of working there. He is the CEO of the company I worked for. He had chosen me over 2 others to work specially with him on a particular project. I was supposed to report to him about everything. I even got to attend some meetings with him. I was excited about it. I thought it was my chance to work hard and meet the requirement for an upcoming promotion. But working with Ryan was entirely different from what I envisioned. Ryan was clearly interested in me, and he made no effort to hide it, mostly when we were together. It made me uncomfortable. I didn't like his approach, but I couldn't complain either. He was my boss, and my key to getting the promotion I needed. But Ryan just wanted me to relax each time. He would ask me to go with him to a meeting, and then when we finally get there, it would be lunch with him, alone. I couldn't tell Peter about it, because eventually I started to like everything he did. The random gifts he got me, the compliments, and even the places we went to together. One time he asked me to park up for a 3-day trip. It was impromptu, and Peter was quite upset. I had promised that we would spend that weekend together, but he had no choice but to let me go. When I got to the destination, I found out quickly that there was no meeting at all. It was just Ryan wanting us to spend time together. I knew what he wanted, and instead of turning around and going back home, I stayed back, and I played along with him. I liked the luxurious hotel we stayed at, the VIP treatments we got there. I felt really important, but I was careful not to sleep with Ryan, not on that trip. But Ryan kissed me. We made out a few times, but I refused sex. I managed to convince myself that I was only just playing along, that I was in control of everything that was happening. I only started sleeping with Ryan after I didn't get that first promotion, despite how hard I worked. And Ryan had promised that I would get the promotion, that he was voting for me. So I had been rest assured, trusting that his attraction was enough to win me what I wanted. But I didn't get it. My other teammate who didn't even work directly with Ryan did. I was so upset. And when I confronted Ryan about it, he told me it was his wife who did it. Yes, Ryan is married, and his wife is the major shareholder in our company, and therefore she made the majority of the rules in the company. Apparently she didn't like me very much. The 2 times I've met her, she has ignored me completely, even when I tried to greet her. Ryan told me about how she always complained about how I was always too close to her husband. So my revenge plot against her was to make her husband cheat on her. With me. My plan had been simple. I was only going to do it once. But then again, nothing ever works how you plan for it to. Ryan promised me that if I slept with him, he was going to push through for my promotion the next year. I didn't trust him this time, but I went along with it, mostly to punish his wife. In my head, I thought doing that, even though it was in secret, was still destroying her. So I was happy. The first time I slept with Ryan had been a week after the whole promotion thing, especially after the party that was organized by Ryan's wife to celebrate the promotion of my coworker. I knew she was doing it to taunt me. She wanted me to understand who was in control, and all I could think of was how to punish her too. So that Monday, while at work and everyone was busy with their job, I went into Ryan's office and bolted the door. And then I walked around his desk. I sat on his lap, which surprised him, but not for long. And then I kissed him. Ryan needed no further encouragement. He took over, and within minutes we were both half naked doing everything that was forbidden. Right there in his office on his desk, and then eventually the chair. And the worst part? I enjoyed it. I enjoyed how he made me feel. It was totally different from everything I've done with Peter. And by the time we were done, I was fully and completely exhausted. Ryan thanked me for the good time, and he asked me to return back to work. I couldn't be gone too long so as to avoid suspicion, so I dressed back properly and went back to my desk, pretending like I hadn't just done what I did. That night, Ryan texted me. He wanted to know if I would come with him on a trip so we could spend the day together. He told me that our first time had been too rushed, and that he wanted a repeat as soon as possible. I agreed and parked my bags the next morning. I told Peter that it was an impromptu meeting, and that I was chosen to go for it. I said that I didn't know if I would be back that day. It depended on how long the meeting would be, and if I would be able to travel back home before nightfall. Peter had been supportive. He asked me no questions and even offered to drive me to the park. But I was too scared and rejected the offer. We spent the whole day and the entire night together in that hotel room, doing all of the unimaginable. We only ordered food to be brought up when we got hungry. We left the next morning, but only because I persuaded Ryan that I needed to go home so that Peter wouldn't suspect me. For the first 1 month of sneaking around with Ryan, I thought that I would get caught, especially by Peter, and I kept checking and double-checking everything to make sure I wasn't leaving any traces of evidence. Anytime we went on trips, I ensured that I deleted every message. I would even switch my phone off, and I only turned it on at night so I could speak to Peter. Even when we slept together in the office, I always ensured that I disposed of my underwear and took from the new set of panties I bought and kept at work. And I always ensured that Ryan used protections to avoid pregnancy. And to be more safe, I kept a bottle of prescribed pills in my bag. But then after nearly 3 months, Ryan and I started sneaking around. We got even more bold. Having quick sex in the office became a regular thing. Ryan would arrange work trips. We even forgot about protection sometimes. But we still got away with it. We got lucky each time. I guess I must have assumed that I would continue to get lucky all of the other times, and I just threw caution into the wind. I didn't think of the consequences of my actions, or even thought deeper about my actions generally. Eventually, Peter started to complain about my busy schedule, but I told him that I was working hard for a promotion. I promised him that after the promotion, I will become less busy. Peter said nothing after that. Most times, he even drove me to the park when I had to go on those trips. Things continued to grow even risky and deeper between Ryan and I, but I wasn't even scared or guilty. The only time I felt guilty was the first time Ryan and I slept together, but desperation overrode my guilt, and I simply just continued with my affair. And then there were advantages to being the boss. I got money to buy anything I wanted because Ryan gave me money most times, and he would sometimes buy me very expensive gifts. Mostly jewelries. He had a weird obsession seeing me wearing jewelries while we had sex, but I didn't mind or care much about it, although it was an added advantage. But I wasn't interested in the money or the jewelries either, not as much as I was in getting the promotion, and I thought Ryan was the only way I could get what I desperately wanted. While I was busy frolicking around with Ryan, I delegated most of my work to my subordinates. They did most of the work, and I took credit for them. And it was one of the new ideas of one of them I stole that completely sealed everything. She brought the idea, and I immediately scouted it and presented it as mine in front of the board. when they asked the people competing for the role of chief executive to bring new ideas. The girl accused me of stealing her idea after she found out. But before she started to spread any rumors, I asked Ryan to fire her. I lied to him that she wasn't doing her job. Ryan fired her, and I felt really good about it, instead of feeling horrible. When I finally got the email that I was promoted, I was so happy. I felt like all of my hard work had finally paid off, even though I had known before I got the email that I got the position. Ryan had told me about the board's decision, and we had even gone out to celebrate in grand style at some new hotel that he discovered around town. But it was somewhere hidden, and nobody could have guessed that we had ever been there. I made Ryan throw a party too to celebrate my promotion. I convinced him that it was also an avenue to invite possible investors and clients too, and let the staff unwind, and Ryan agreed with me. Unluckily for me, the board approved it when he brought it up, and I was so excited then. I was the one who planned everything, to make sure everything was perfect. I didn't want anything disrupting my moment. It was a 1+1 themed party. So I had to invite Peter to be my date. I bought him a new suit with some of the money Ryan gave me, and I also brought my own dress. I was so stuck up in my world that I didn't notice. I should have, but I never did. Peter had been behaving oddly all week. He paid barely any attention to me. He stopped calling me when I had to stay late at the office working. He didn't stay up for dinner with me on days I was home and just was literally ignoring me. But I dismissed it. I thought I was only thinking about it, that it was all in my head. Peter didn't know any of the things I was doing. There was no reason for him to suddenly start to behave that way towards me. So I concluded without ever asking him. It was just work stress. It wasn't me. It couldn't have been me. And finally, the day of the party came, and I arrived earlier than usual, just to see if everything was being done properly. Peter had left home earlier that morning. He didn't even bother informing me where he was going, and I assumed it was work. I wasn't sure he was going to join me for the party. He hadn't even taken the new suit I got him for the occasion. And when I texted him, I got no response, but he did show up, although he wasn't wearing the suit I got him, just one of his old ones, and he didn't even bother coming to me. He went straight to sit down and just took a drink. I ignored him and continued to socialize until I had to go sit down. Peter chose a seat that removed me from the spotlight, and all my attempts to get him to come to where I wanted to sit was abortive. So I had to go sit with him where he was. Even though I was pissed by the new arrangement, things were still going really well. I loved being the center of attraction. Everyone kept congratulating me. I ignored the fact that I didn't even deserve the promotion. I felt like nobody else also deserved it too, and I worked too hard for it, even though it wasn't the same type of hard work. I watched Ryan with his wife. She kept talking to some investors and paid no attention to me. But I didn't mind. What bothered me more was Peter's reaction. He didn't look like he was enjoying himself. At first I thought that it was because he didn't know half the people there. But he also ignored me when I tried to get him to smile with a random joke. He only kept sipping his drink and focused on his phone. I was pissed at him, but I tried not to let it show. It was my happy day. I wasn't about to let him destroy that. So I focused on speaking with my colleagues and relating with them instead. But the moment of truth finally came. Specific people were asked to make a toast. The two people that came out first were the ones I competed against. I knew they weren't genuinely happy to celebrate my wins. But I was glad. I had convinced Ryan to let them do the speech, and he agreed. He had no idea what I wanted to do by suggesting they did it, but it didn't affect him in any way, so he accepted anyway. And after they said their bits, it was finally time for Ryan to say something. He stood up and said things about how diligent I've been. He said that he was proud of me, and some other things about how brilliant I was. Then he finally raised his glass. I raise a toast to you. I hope you'd be as adventurous and hardworking as you have been so far, especially recently. But everything else after that statement happened so fast. Peter just suddenly slammed his drink on the table and stood up to leave, without saying anything to me or anyone. I was surprised and went after him. I wanted to stop him from leaving. I was angry that he was bent on ruining my perfect day. I felt that even if we did have our issues, he shouldn't be disgracing me in public, especially not in front of my colleagues, so I held his hand and tried to speak to him, reason with him. But Matt just threw my hand away, like I touched him with a bag of dirt. I stood there in shock. trying to comprehend what was happening. And I was still only recovering from the shock of Matt's behavior when he said something that left me so dumbfounded I couldn't even defend myself. "Why don't you play cozy with your lover instead? And maybe then you don't have to hide your secret getaways anymore." For a few seconds, I almost forgot to breathe. I was having a panic attack right there, but Matt didn't care about that. He was telling me in a loud voice that he knew about my affair, and that I should probably go be with my lover instead of pretending. I tried to pretend like I didn't understand what he was saying, but Peter just laughed bitterly, and then brought out his phone and went to pick a microphone. I didn't understand what was happening. I wish I had foreseen everything, but at that moment, I couldn't tell what was what. By then, everywhere was silent. People were watching us, including Ryan, who still stood at the mini stage made for the occasion. But then every confession changed into horror when Peter played it. It was a recording of me and Ryan. That day I kept telling how irritated I felt because I couldn't even meet up with him because Peter was home. And Ryan had told me that his wife was also home. He couldn't leave either. In that conversation, he had asked me to send some pictures to him. And I did. I went into the bathroom of the guest room, and I sent him the pictures he requested. I went back to bed with Peter. I thought he was asleep. I didn't know. I didn't know he had been awake and was recording our conversation. I still thought I was perfectly safe, but I was so wrong, and the evidence was right there on his phone, playing loudly on the speaker for everyone to hear. I tried to snatch the phone out of his hand so I could stop it, but Peter just removed it out of reach. It didn't help matters that I've always been a lot shorter than Peter, even on heels. And that wasn't even all. Peter showed everyone pictures of Ryan and I together at the hotel. The pictures I had taken secretly of both of us. The pictures were meant to blackmail him if he tried to betray me. They meant nothing. I didn't trust Ryan to actually push for my promotion, especially not after the last one was awarded to another team member. I wanted to hold something against him, and also because of his wife. I was going to blur my face out and threaten him with the pictures if he didn't do as I asked. Or worse, send them to his wife. But I only just ever thought about it. I didn't think it would have to come to that. And I kept those pictures in a secret hidden folder. How Peter found them on my phone and had somehow gotten them on his too was shocking. Especially because I never really left my phone except I was sleeping. Maybe he cloned my phone or hacked it. Or did it while I was sleeping, I don't know, and I guess I will never know. And I had no chance to ask, because while Peter was showing me the phone with our pictures, she walked over quickly and snatched the phone out of Peter's hand. She wanted to see clearly the pictures that Peter had of us. Her face clearly reflected how she felt. She was so angry. After she handed Peter his phone, she came at me. Clearly she had only one goal, and it was to beat me up. So I did the only thing that came to my mind at that point. I ran away, leaving everyone there, including Peter. I was so scared to even go home. I wanted to hide from everything and everyone. And the only place that came to mind to run to was my parents' home. I didn't even think it through. I went straight to the park and just boarded a bus to take me home. All through that journey, everyone there probably thought I was crazy. I kept crying and I couldn't even bring myself to stop. I didn't know what else to do. I was scared to turn on my phone just in case I got calls. I didn't want to face the consequences of my actions. I couldn't bear it. Remembering the look on Peter's face after Ryan's speech was pure agony, and I knew that I couldn't face that anymore. I couldn't bear to see that look on his face again. When I got to my parents' home, they were surprised to see me, especially looking the way I did. I hadn't even changed out of my dress, and I was sure my makeup was messy from all the tears. I lied to them that I was robbed on my way there, that I only wanted to surprise them with a visit. When my mom asked if Peter knew about it, I lied that I didn't want to bother him. I told them that he was on a work trip and I didn't want to distract him. My parents believed me. They allowed me in and my mom gave me one of her dresses. It's been 3 days since then, and I've been stuck in my old room, afraid of even stepping out of the house. I know my parents suspect that something else happened, especially because I haven't been able to stop myself from crying. I haven't checked my social media or emails. I haven't even turned on my phone in general. I lied to my parents that my phone was also taken alongside my luggage. So my mom got me a new phone, which I'm using right now to type this. I know that running away will not solve anything. I'm a stupid coward, and I know, but I'm so scared. I don't know if Peter will ever forgive me after everything I've done. I'm scared that Ryan's wife will hunt me down and make me pay too, and it's just horrible. I feel like my doom will come sooner than I expect, and I'm only just extending its arrival by running away. But for now, I just want to hide and not deal with everything. Even though it's a different ballgame in my mind. Is there really a way for me to undo any of these? I'm desperately searching for the answer to that question, and I will do anything at all, just to make all of these go away. Update. I was right. My doom came sooner than I expected it would, because barely a week of me hiding away in my parents' house. My younger sister found some news. Apparently an affair between a boss and his employee was exposed at a work party, and she had come to show me. The one she saw only had a recording. I thought I was lucky that my pictures weren't there. But the way I had frozen when she brought it, it made them suspect me. Especially when my sister said that the voice sounded exactly like mine. But I was quick to deny it. But it didn't convince them. And when my mom kept asking when I was going back home to Peter, I kept lying that his trip was taking longer than we expected. When she asked about work, I lied that I was on temporary leave and would go back soon. But my lies soon got exposed. Peter knew I was hiding away. He was only giving me time to relax, to think that I could actually run away from the consequences of my actions, because he showed up at my parents' place, just 8 days later after I ran. I was so shocked to see him at the door, the look on his face, the pure look of anger and disgust mixed together. I couldn't bear it, and I tried to run away again. But this time Peter pushed me back inside and bolted the door, and again, my sins were exposed to not just the world, but my family now. They were all there. My older brother had come visiting with his wife. My younger sister was on break from school. My 2 aunts were there also. My mom, my dad, everyone was there. And Peter recounted everything to them. He played the recording and even showed them the pictures to prove it further. I just stood there watching everyone talk all at once. My aunt told me I was a disgrace and she never wanted to see me again. My dad said nothing, even though his face showed it all. My mom kept crying, and my younger sister held her while glaring at me. My older brother asked me to leave the house. He told me he never wanted to see me again. My life was crumbling all over again, and it was happening so fast. I could barely breathe. I was having a panic attack, but nobody seemed to care. To them, I was already a monster that needed to be sent out from amongst humans. Peter, satisfied that he had totally ruined my life, told them that he had only come to reveal the truth, and to hand me the divorce papers. He stretched them to me and asked me to sign them. But I was too horrified to even move. I didn't know how to comprehend anything that was happening. I just stood there trying to breathe with tears running down my face. But Peter came prepared. He wasn't affected by my tears, because he just pushed the divorce papers into my hands and handed me a pen. So I did the only thing that came to my mind. This time it wasn't running. I knelt down, begging him not to leave me. I swore to never cheat again. I told him that I would spend the rest of my life paying for my sins, but I couldn't bear it if he left me. But Peter refused to listen to me. He kept insisting that I sign the papers, or he would send those pictures online on every existing social media site, and also drag me to court. He also told me that I probably didn't know that Ryan's wife was hunting for me. He promised me more mess if I didn't sign them. I had to sign the papers, not because of his threats to expose me even further. I didn't care about that. I believe that there is nothing that could ruin me further than leaving me. But I signed it because I had truly lost him. His mind was made up. He didn't love me anymore. Not after the things I had done. He hated me. There was no amount of begging that I could do to change his mind. He had lost his respect for me, from the day he found out about my affair. I had no choice but to sign them. With shaky hands, I ended my life on a piece of paper. Peter was satisfied that he got what he came for, so he left, and didn't even look back once. And I watched him. I watched him go, through the window. I watched him enter his car and drive away, from me, and my horrible mistakes. I couldn't stop crying, but it didn't stop my family from taking their pound of my flesh. My mother had stopped crying. She was plainly just pissed then. She told me to leave. She said she couldn't harbor me, that she wouldn't allow me to jeopardize the family's name, and everybody else supported her. My aunts wouldn't stop calling me names, and no one stopped them. They thought the same of me. and I had no choice but to leave. With nowhere to go, going back into town wasn't an option. I was scared that Ryan's wife would really find me, but I had no choice. I had taken the choice out of my hands the moment I decided an affair was the best solution. I had to turn my phone back on to try and reach my friends, hoping desperately that one of them would come through for me, but I was so wrong. They had all blocked my number, except one, but the insults I received when she picked the call were just gory. She told me that I needed to just crawl into a hole and wait for my final days. She told me how my pictures were out there on the internet with my boss. And then she finally told me that she only didn't block me because she didn't expect that I would be bold enough to call. Then she ended the call and probably blocked me immediately. I didn't bother checking. I was shocked when she said the pictures were on the internet. Hours ago, Peter had only threatened to post them, but when I finally went online, I saw that he had only done a few minutes after he left our place. He wanted to ruin me completely. The comments and the amount of reposts were so scary. It was through the internet I discovered that Ryan's wife had also filed for a divorce and raised a petition to fire her husband as CEO. And even though he owned the company originally, she had more influence over the company. I don't really care that he was losing everything. I believe that I lost more than he did. I was the one without anyone out on the streets, especially Peter. They said that time would heal the wounds, but it's been a month since then, and the wounds haven't stopped festering. It's almost like the more time passes, the more pain I feel. I've been barely able to get by. My new boss at the store I work at is horrible to me. He knows about my whole story. I had no choice but to tell him because I needed a place to stay, and he has used it against me since. One time, a customer smiled at me, and he accused me of wanting to seduce the person so I could do what I usually did. I have no choice but to bear it. I have no other place to go. I barely earned enough at the art store to rent a place, but I would prefer to endure his harsh words and insults 10,000 times over. If only it would stop the horrendous thoughts that cloud my head all day, and the pain that my heart feels, especially any time I saw a happily married couple. I go to bed every day wishing desperately that I could turn back the hands of time, or perhaps wake up and realize everything was only a nightmare, and Peter would hold me close, kiss my forehead, and calm me down, telling me it was only a dream. But rather, I wake up almost every day now, in the middle of the night from the horrible dreams I keep having. About that night, at the party where Ryan had said what he said, and Peter had decided to expose me right there in front of everyone. Crying has become my usual, and sometimes even when I feel like I have no more tears coming, my eyes still manage to produce them. This dark, empty room with barely anything in it but the few dresses I now own. It reminds me of the life I threw away. I miss Peter so much. I miss his hugs, his kisses, his silly laugh when I did something funny. I miss the way he buys me gifts and makes me feel special. I had no valid reason to cheat on him. I was just being selfish and greedy, wanting things that I couldn't have, and in the process, ruining what I did have. Most days, I wonder what he's up to. He had blocked my number and my account on social media. He even deleted every single picture of us together on his account, proving even further that he thought marrying me was a mistake. I know it's been a short time, but I wonder if he has moved on completely. Maybe he's found someone else. But the thought of Peter being with another woman who is not me, it kills me. I've tried so many times to stop myself from imagining it, imagining Peter hugging, kissing, and loving another woman, the way he was with me until I betrayed him. The thought haunts me. She probably would love him in ways that I never did. She wouldn't be as dumb as I had been and cheat on him. She will get to hold him and have every right to, touch him without him moving his hands away, and even look into his eyes filled with love, and not disgust and anger like it had with me. I wish that I had never cheated on him. Perhaps now we would still be together and be happy. Maybe finally having those 3 kids we've always discussed having. But it's all in my head. There's no changing my fate. The choice isn't with me anymore. But if there's anything I would change right now, I will change my job and perhaps every situation that would have made me meet Ryan. Because no amount of words can express just how bitterly I regret every single moment of my affair. I keep regretting every secret meeting, every work trip, every mockery we made of our spouses. I regret allowing my desperation and selfishness to drive me so hard. I wanted a position, and I did everything I could to get it. And now I've lost both the position and my life together. It wasn't worth it. Not one tiny bit. And I know that there's no coming back from this. Not after everything I've done. I'm totally and utterly ruined, without a single hope for a better future. It's all bleak and empty, and certainly with no Peter.